There is none like you. No one else can touch my heart like you do. I could search for all eternity long and find there is none like you. One thing have I desired, forever will I seek, to behold the beauty of His holiness, and to dwell within the presence of the King. Well, how could I ask for more? He's done so much for me, for I have tasted of the goodness of the Lord.
Happy Sunday, beloved brethren. Today is the 16th Sunday in ordinary time of the year. The gospel reading is taken from the gospel according to Mark, chapter 6, from verse 30 to 34. The apostles came back from their mission and reported to Jesus Christ all they have done and all they have taught. Jesus said to them, "Come away to a lonely place all by yourselves and rest for a while." For there were many coming and going that they had no time even to eat. And they set out to go to a lonely place all by themselves. Soon the people discovered where they were going and arrived there on foot before them. In verse 34, the evangelist said, when Jesus stepped ashore, he saw a large crowd. He felt pity for them because they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he started teaching them. This brief account of Mark is full of biblical images that help us to understand not only the relationship between Jesus and his disciples, but also the mission of Jesus Christ himself as the real shepherd of the flock. The first we notice in this presentation is the missionary account of the apostles. Mark presents the report of the apostles like other evangelists with a hint of success. They told Jesus all they taught and all they did. The emphasis on the response of Jesus Christ, who invited them to come out for a while, shows that they really carried out the mission as Jesus instructed them. In fact, in the account of Luke, Luke was more emphatic when he said, when the disciples came back from the mission in Luke chapter 10, they were happy to report to the Lord that even demons submitted to us when we gave them command in your name. Jesus told them, do not only rejoice that the demons obeyed you, but rejoice rather that your names are written in the book of life. That's to let us know that the disciples were really successful. Apart from manifesting the power of Jesus Christ by adhering to his instruction, they are also shown to be associated with Jesus Christ by the fact that their names are written in the book of life. We recall that Jesus sent them out not with material burden. He told them when he was sending them out to take nothing for their journey except a tunic, a pair of sandals, and a staff. They were not to take material things. Yet when they came back, they were happy, they were successful, because the power of Jesus was all they needed. The second thing we gain in this account is Jesus told the disciples, come to a lonely place all by yourselves to have some rest. Here, the expression that Mark uses is a very important expression in the narrative structure of Mark, because Mark invites the disciples to a lonely place in the structure that Jesus himself has accomplished. We notice that in Mark chapter 1 verse 35, when Jesus had taught the people and had healed a lot of them, he went to a lonely place where he was alone and prayed with the Father. When the disciples came back from mission, Jesus invited them to do the same thing that he did, to a lonely place where they will be by themselves. However, apart from emphasizing the importance of being alone, having a peace of mind, and also relaxing and having valuation of life, in this account, Mark employs the expression kata edian 2 times, that is, by yourselves alone, to strengthen the relationship between the disciples and Jesus. The expression kata edian is an expression that Mark often implies to emphasize the intimacy between Jesus and his followers. We notice that this expression occurred 7 times in the account of Mark. And each moment the expression is applied, it strengthens the relationship between Jesus and his disciples. But in this account alone, Mark uses the expression 2 times. In Mark chapter 4 verse 31, he told them, "Come alone by yourself to a lonely place." And then in Mark chapter 4 verse 32, he repeated the same expression, "And they went by themselves to a lonely place." This repetition here draws attention to see the effect of this narrative that Mark presents to us. He allows us to see that the disciples, after they had carried out their missionary work according to the order given to them, Jesus invited them to strengthen the relationship between the disciples and Jesus himself. The intimacy is fortified by this going to a lonely place, because the adjective here, idios, makes reference to what is properly one's own, what is uniquely one's. So when the disciples went to be with Jesus, they were with him in a unique way. We notice that Mark implies this expression in those passages where Jesus gives some preference to the disciples. We notice in Mark chapter 4 verse 34, after Jesus had taught the people with parable, when he was alone with the disciples, he explained everything to them. Again, in Mark chapter 9 verse 2, Jesus went alone with the disciples on the mountain of transfiguration where they were alone. The same expression is also noticed in Mark chapter 9 verse 28, after Jesus had healed the boy who was possessed by a mute and dumb spirit. When they were alone, the disciples asked Jesus, "Why were we not able to cast that demon out?" It's an expression that is very important. Even in Mark chapter 13 verse 30, the same expression is also repeated. When they were alone, the apostles asked Jesus Christ, "When would these things come by?" The emphasis on being alone with Jesus Christ grants us the privilege to see that the success of the disciples depended so much on the intimacy with Jesus Christ. It's not only just to go and announce the gospel, but the one who announces the gospel should grow on daily encounter with Jesus. They came back and they were alone with him. They came back and they went to a lonely, deserted place. The word used here again is from the adjective eremos, which means a solitary place. Just like Jesus went to a solitary place in Mark chapter 1 verse 35, the disciples with Jesus Christ went to a solitary place, eremos. From here we get the noun, the desert, that is eremon. The third aspect of this presentation is the emphasis on the fact that the people hurried. Before Jesus and his disciples could arrive at the place, they were already there on foot. If we measure the distance that Jesus and his disciples crossed with the boat, we are talking of something like 6 kilometers, about 4 miles. And the people crossing over on foot would have taken a double walk in order to reach there before Jesus Christ and his disciples. This enthusiasm of the people is very important for us because it is very instructive. They recognize Jesus and his disciples. This recognition of Jesus as the one who has the message of life opens the door for faith. It is at the center of all biblical narrative for all the disciples of Jesus Christ to recognize him as the king, as the true shepherd, as the true prophet, the one who has the message of eternal life. So the people will not mind how long it will take them to cross over. We are so much desirous to listen to Jesus Christ that before Jesus and his disciples could arrive, they were already there waiting for them. It's a sign of interior hunger, it is a sign of inner desire to encounter God in the life of the one who desires to be with him. The fourth aspect of this account is the expression that Mark employs when he indicated how Jesus felt when he saw the people and how he started teaching them. First, we notice here that as Jesus stepped ashore, he saw the great crowd. In Mark chapter 4, verse 34, he felt pity for them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. The first expression here, they were like sheep without a shepherd, is an expression that has a biblical foundation. Because this expression in the Old Testament is often employed at the decisive moment in the history of the people of Israel. Especially in Numbers chapter 27, verse 17. When Moses was close to the end of his life, the Lord showed him the promised land and told him that you are not going to enter the promised land. As soon as Moses had a view of the promised land, he asked the Lord to raise up for the people one who will lead them to the promised land, so that they will not be like sheep without a shepherd. It was a decisive moment in the land of Israel. Because Moses, they knew. Moses, they trusted. Moses, they have seen his capacity and how God will work with him. But this time around, God had told Moses, you are not going to enter the promised land. So Moses needed a substitute that is also capable, one who is to succeed him, that will take the people to the promised land. So Moses asked God to send a successor so that the people will not be like a sheep without a shepherd. And the Lord assured Moses that he's going to send Joshua to take over his position. Another significant time that the expression sheep without a shepherd occurred in the Old Testament is during the time of the false prophets in the land of Israel, especially when Ahab was the king. We notice particularly in 1 Kings chapter 22, verse 17, when Ahab wanted to go and fight Ramoth in Gilead, he consulted Jehoshaphat that two of them may join together and fight Ramoth in Gilead. But Jehoshaphat advised Ahab, before we go out for this battle, we must first of all consult the Lord whether he is going to give us the permission and we are going to have the victory. Ahab gathered together 400 prophets, but they were all spurious prophets, that's false prophets. So they told Ahab that, look, the Lord has assured you of victory. But before accepting this prophecy, Jehoshaphat demanded for another prophet who is going to discern whether these prophetic messages are true. And they invited another prophet known for his authenticity and his truthfulness. And that was Micaiah, son of Imlah. When Micaiah came, Micaiah counteracted the false prophets by indicating that if Israel go out for war against Ramoth in Gilead, I see the people of Israel scattered like a sheep without a shepherd. This emphasis on the fathers in the time of the great false prophets, this expression was employed to demonstrate that it is only by listening to the Lord and following him that the people of Israel will be united together and will have a unified shepherd. And the fathers, it occurred also when Moses was about to leave this earthly city. They draw attention to look at Jesus Christ as a true shepherd sent to accomplish the work of the shepherd that the Old Testament shepherds were not able immediately to realize. So Jesus is presented to us as that good shepherd. In the account of Mark, this image that Jesus saw them and he felt sorry for them because they were like sheep without a shepherd is a technical way to present Jesus to all of us as a good shepherd. Quite unlike the account of John chapter 10, where Jesus is directly called the Good Shepherd. I am the Good Shepherd. In the synoptic writers, especially in the account of Mark and Matthew, Jesus is presented as a good shepherd in this order of narrative. He saw the people. He felt sorry for them because they were like a sheep without a shepherd. And he started teaching them. That is to say, he presented himself immediately as that good shepherd that they needed. And that's why even in Psalm we use in today's celebration in Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, there is nothing I shall want. However, it is also more significant the fact that before Jesus accepted and took up the office of shepherding the people, Mark and Matthew, they emphasize that Jesus felt pity for them. It's significant that the verb employed here is a very important verb in the New Testament, splanchnizomai. This verb is the strongest verb to express pity in Greek language because it's a verb that is rooted in the noun splanchna, which means uterus, viscera, the mother's womb. And so it is a pity that arises from the affection of the mother. It's a pity that expresses that profound relationship between the mother and the child. Jesus felt pity for them. They were like sheep without a shepherd. For 3 times, Mark employed this verb in moments when Jesus needed to express not only his pity, but also his healing power and his power to supply for the people. In Mark chapter 1, verse 41, when the leper came to Jesus Christ and cried, "If you want, you can heal me," he said, Jesus felt pity for the leper. He employed the verb splanchnizomai before he healed the leper. We get it for the second time in this account. In Mark chapter 6, verse 34, Jesus felt pity for the people and started teaching them. We're going to get it again for the final time in the Gospel of Mark. In Mark chapter 8, verse 2, before Jesus supplied food for 4,000 people in the second multiplication of bread, he felt pity for them because they had been with him for some time, and he gave them something to eat. It's a verb that employs and allows us to see. It's a verb that allows us to see not only the feeling of Jesus Christ, but a feeling that is oriented towards manifestation of his identity. He felt pity for them and he taught them. If we bring together the feeling of Jesus Christ with the expression that Mark has, that the people were like sheep without a shepherd, we see the image that Mark wants to present in this account. He's not only showing us Jesus Christ who has the power to teach, not only Jesus Christ who has the power to supply for the need of the people. He's not only showing us Jesus Christ who feels pity for his people, but in this account, he presents Jesus Christ as a true shepherd of the flock. In the letter of the author to the Hebrew in chapter 13, verse 20, Jesus is presented as the chief shepherd of the flock. He's a real shepherd that all the shepherds of the Old Testament were properly prepared to anticipate. The work they carried out oriented towards Jesus Christ, the true shepherd of the flock. And that's why today, the account of Mark invites us to see Jesus as that shepherd that can supply for all our needs because he's filled with pity and love for his flock. He can lead us to the greener pasture. If I walk with him even in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil because he's there with me. With his crook and his staff, he will always sustain me. On this note, beloved brethren, I wish all of you a happy celebration of the Word of God and a happy Sunday. Be blessed.
Chineke